Halo was once considered the gold standard for first-person shooters, helping define an entire generation of gaming. The franchise has been going downhill for a long time, with Halo 4 and 5 being riddled with problems, questionable decisions, and breaking from the style that made the previous games special. Halo Infinite had the right pieces to be a great game, but it was handled so poorly, launching with half of the expected features missing, an underwhelming campaign, and a terrible live service multiplayer. Now, instead of delivering the bold new experience the series desperately needed, Halo Studios has revisited the original game for a second time, with Halo Campaign Evolved. The question is, does this remake justify its existence, or is it simply another unnecessary return to the past? Despite all the controversy and bad points, which I'll get into later, the game does have some decent things going for it. The visuals are of course a big step up from the original game and the later Anniversary Edition, with updated lighting, detailed environments, and improved effects. Halo Studios didn't reinvent the wheel, rather they added to it, incorporating features from the later games, more weapons, power-ups, sprint, and the ability to board enemy vehicles. The biggest addition is the 3 prequel missions known as Operation Meteorite, where you fight alongside Sergeant Johnson before the events of the original game, tasked with gathering intelligence on the Covenant. The missions bring in features from the later games, pitting you against the brutes, as well as weapons that weren't in the original game, like the needle rifle and spiker. The game is good at the fundamental level, both the campaign and the prequel missions. However, this is largely because Halo is such a good game, rather than anything that the studio did right, with the game having issues, things that could have been done better, and the game has a disappointing lack of content. Now onto the many problems. The graphics are good, I can't complain from a purely visual standpoint. However, the graphics really needed to be optimized before the game was released. I regularly had frame drops and stuttering, both during the gameplay and cutscenes, and I heard plenty of other complaints from other people about that as well. Spending a bit more time to actually get the game to a stage where it was fit to be released would have been appreciated. A major gameplay issue that I had was the game is plagued with various bugs. The game regularly failed to save correctly, so when I started the game up again, I would often have to replay entire sections. Another big issue is the inconsistent enemy weapon damage and health, with my entire shield bar being taken out by a single plasma pistol or rifle hit, or grenades randomly exploding without anyone actually throwing them, or some enemies absolutely tanking damage that should have killed them twice over. When it comes to the prequel missions, they are okay. Yes, the extra content is welcome, fighting the Covenant with all of the later weapons, and the concept of gathering intelligence on the Covenant is perfectly fine. However, the 3 missions are very underwhelming, with the game playing it too safe. The environments don't offer much of interest, mainly generic ship corridors, as it almost fully takes place within this large space station, with a brief space combat section at the end. Compare this to iconic locations during the campaign, such as the Silent Cartographer, Assault on the Control Room, or 343 Guilty Spark, and the prequel missions fall flat in comparison. A big issue isn't the content, but rather the missed opportunity for Halo Studios to show off what they can do, to create memorable and compelling new Halo stories, but instead we got a safe and mediocre 3 missions that simply lack the expected quality. Another issue is how the game looks. This isn't to be confused with the graphics, which are good, but rather the art direction. The original game and remaster use bold colors, clean environments, and strong visual contrast to make enemies instantly recognizable. Elite stood out with their red and blue colors. The enemy armor looks less distinctive and more generic, and each environment had its own unique visual identity. Campaign Evolved looks visually better, but more like a generic sci-fi shooter than Halo. Cortana is another change, with the model looking more detailed but less iconic and more generic, somehow looking worse than the older games. When it comes to the game's content, there simply is not enough here to justify its existence. Yes, the graphics have been significantly improved, and the 3 Operation Meteorite prologue missions are extra content, but that's about it. Something that could have been added to this game is online multiplayer and firefight mode, like the Master Chief Collection has. If these were present based upon the original game's locations, with updated visuals and extra weapons, that would have been a feature that the community would have welcomed. The new content doesn't justify a new game, especially one priced like a full game, without the content to match that price tag. The previous Halo game, Infinite, was crap, with a half-arsed campaign, no Forge or online co-op campaign at launch, no local split-screen campaign, and because the online multiplayer followed a live service model, the multiplayer content was drip-fed to us over the course of multiple seasons, instead of being complete at launch. Why is this relevant to Halo Campaign Evolved? Because Halo Studios had the chance to make something new, to try and turn the franchise around, but instead they went for the safe and easy option, which makes this entry feel even worse. At the basic level, Halo Campaign Evolved is a good game. However, this is because Halo is a good game, rather than Halo Studios having actually done anything right. Yes, the graphics are good, but that's to be expected of a remake made 20 years later. The issues revolve around problems like there being too little new content, various technical issues, and it being a lazy remake of a game that didn't need remaking. Is it worth giving a go? Sure, but don't expect to be blown away by it.